You wake up one morning, but something feels wrong. The walls around you seem thinner, like they're barely holding reality together. The light feels artificial. Your daily routine unfolds: shower, coffee, emails, yet beneath each act, something ancient stirs, whispering, "Have I ever truly been awake?" Most live and die inside a dream they never realize they're dreaming. A dream built by invisible hands, culture, fear, comfort. A dream so seamless that questioning it feels like insanity. But insanity to whom? Is it madness to question your life, or madness to never question it at all? The more normal you become, the deeper the sleep. Society rewards not awakening, but obedience. It crowns you for blending in, not breaking free. From birth, you are handed a script: be good, work hard, fear failure more than mediocrity, smile, nod, belong. Each time you followed, a part of you, the part that knew, was silenced. That wild, raging truth inside whispered, "This isn't living, this is sleepwalking." But you ignored it. We all did, at least for a while. Now look around. How many live lives of fire and wonder? How many speak words that are truly their own? The number is far smaller than we want to believe, because waking up isn't a passive event, it's a bloody, painful rupture. It demands the death of illusions, the death of your comfortable, familiar identity. It demands you leave behind everything you've been taught to cling to. And staying asleep is easier to numb yourself with distractions, easier to chase hollow dreams than to dismantle the ones that enslave you, easier to exist in dissatisfaction than risk the terror of awakening. But what if the dissatisfaction is the beginning of awakening? What if the restlessness, the emptiness, the persistent gnawing inside you isn't a defect, but a signal? What if ignoring it is the most dangerous choice of all? You feel it, in the silences, in the moments when the noise fades, and you're left alone with yourself. That aching whisper, there is more. You're not broken, you're not lost, you're starting to stir. But stirring isn't waking, it's just the first tremor before the earthquake. The real question isn't, can you wake up? The real, terrifying, world-shattering question is, will you? Will you tear down the life you've carefully built just to meet the stranger within? Will you risk annihilation for the chance at real life? Or will you roll back over, pull the covers tighter, and choose the familiar nightmare? The choice has always been yours. But first, you have to recognize the dream. You have to see the walls before you can break them. And once you do, the real journey begins. You were never meant to stay asleep. Deep in your being, there is an instinct, a wild, stubborn drive to awaken. But something intervened. Not a single enemy you can name, but an intricate web spun by psychology, philosophy, and fear. Let's start with the mind. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we craft to survive. At first, it's protective, necessary, but over time, the mask fuses to your skin. You forget it was ever a mask at all. You hide your anger, your wildness, your inconvenient truths, bury them in the shadow. And what is buried never rests. It festers, it distorts, it mutates into anxiety, depression, endless dissatisfaction. Each time you betray your inner knowing to fit in, the dream deepens, the mask tightens. Society rewards this slow death. Nietzsche saw it clearly. Society tames the wolf into a dog. We are born while driven by instincts vast and untamed. But worldness threatens the order, and so we are trained. Sit still, smile, work hard, be acceptable. Originality is crushed, authenticity pathologized, pain numbed with endless consumption. Schopenhauer warned of the will hour endless, blind striving, and society turned that striving into an engine of endless distraction. Work harder, look better, buy more, anesthetic for the soul. Aldous Huxley foresaw it too. Not a world ruled by fear, but one drowned in pleasure. A world where people stop questioning because the sedation is too sweet to resist. And here we are, saturated, distracted, numb, flooded with information, starved of wisdom, endlessly entertained, profoundly disconnected. But make no mistake, the dream doesn't just anesthetize pain. It severs you from your own meaning. Viktor Frankl understood, When we cannot find meaning, we distract ourselves with pleasure. The result? A generation drowning in comfort, yet starving for purpose, addicted to numbing, terrified of silence. The problem isn't that people can't wake up. It's that waking threatens everything they've built their identity on. Waking demands that you face yourself raw, unfiltered, terrifying. It asks, who are you without your job title, your Instagram profile, your borrowed dreams? And for most, that question is too unbearable to even approach, because once you ask it, the entire foundation of your life trembles. The tragedy is that the longer you stay asleep, the harder it is to even want to wake. You forget there was ever more than this. You mistake numbness for a happiness, conformity for wisdom, routine for life, and the dream deepens. You call it growing up, being realistic, maturing, but a part of you still knows. Late at night, when no one's watching, you hear it pounding inside. Wake up. The hidden problem isn't simply external, it lives inside your own mind, inside the very structures you were taught to trust. The structures that quietly whisper, stay comfortable, stay small, stay asleep. But if you keep listening, if you let that whisper grow louder, the dream will start to crack. And then you'll be faced with the terrifying, electrifying possibility of choosing a different way. Awesome. Here's the compressed and sharpened section 3 for you. You might think sleepwalking through life only damages you, that your quiet resignation is a private tragedy, but that's the first lie. Your unconsciousness radiates outward. It infects your relationships, your choices, the systems you sustain without questioning. The dream doesn't just imprison individuals, it sustains entire empires. Every time you scroll past your own thoughts, every time you parrot opinions without reflection, every time you bury discomfort under another distraction, you reinforce the dream. Not alone, together. This is how a world falls asleep, not through violence, through consent. The consequences are everywhere. Look around, a society drowning in loneliness, epidemics of addiction not just to substances, but to attention, validation, busyness, endless cycles of outrage that change nothing. We were promised connection. We were given simulation. We were promised freedom. We got invisible chains. And the most terrifying part, we call this progress. We scroll, we consume, we perform believing this is just how life is. Gratitude weaponized into silence. But the numbness exacts a price, a life half lived, a soul half awake, a world teetering on collapse because no one dares to feel fully anymore. The dream becomes so normalized that rebellion feels insane, hope feels naive, stillness feels unbearable, and in the background, the machine hums along, fueled by your distracted compliance. But the decay isn't just external. Inside, the cost is even greater. The slow erosion of wonder, the death of real presence, the shriveling of the parts of you capable of awe, of terror, of deep, aching love. You don't just miss experiences, you miss yourself. And you don't even notice, because the dream is clever. It rewards your sleep with tiny dopamine hits, likes, promotions, new gadgets, cheap highs masking a deeper starvation. You think the tragedy is missing out on success, but the true tragedy is missing out on the radical, irreplaceable miracle of being alive. The dream doesn't just cost you joy, it costs you the very capacity for joy. And the longer you remain sedated, the more you forget what it's ever meant to feel truly awake. Until, one day, you wake up too late and realize you never truly lived at all. You just existed, safely, comfortably, invisibly. But a different future is possible. If you stop numbing, if you stop pretending, if you dare to feel the full horror and the full wonder of existence. It won't be easy. The dream will fight to pull you back under. But every act of awareness, every moment of radical honesty, every breath of true presence is a rebellion, and the first step toward reclaiming the life you were meant to live. Not a life of survival, a life of fire. Here's the compressed and sharpened section 4 for you. There comes a moment when something inside you refuses to stay asleep. It's not polite, it's not comfortable, it's a rebellion. It starts quietly. I can't live like this anymore. Not because someone told you to change, Because something ancient within you, the real you, won't be silenced anymore. But real rebellion isn't loud. It's not slogans or dramatic gestures. It's an internal uprising. It's the decision to stop asking, "What does the world expect of me?" and start asking, "What burns inside me to be lived?" It's the decision to turn inward, into the places you've avoided, the anger, the despair, the world love, the unbearable questions. Carl Jung knew, you don't kill the shadow, you integrate it. You become whole again. And wholeness is dangerous. A whole human doesn't fit into systems built on obedience. A whole human lives by an inner law no machine can dictate. That's why true awakening is feared. Because once you taste it, you see, the rules are arbitrary. The masks are paper thin. The chains were always imaginary. You realize, I was free all along. But this freedom demands everything. You must choose consciousness over distraction, silence over noise, truth over comfort. You must face the terror of your own mortality and let it burn away the inessential. You must stop outsourcing meaning. No more waiting for approval. No more blaming systems, parents, governments. The meaning you seek is not out there. It's forged inside you in your suffering, your longing, your raw aliveness. This rebellion will not win you applause. It may cost you friends, careers, illusions you clung to like lifeboats. But in its place, something unbreakable is born, your real life. A life where you no longer exist to be approved, admired, envied. A life where you live, because being alive is the only thing that matters. And here's the final truth. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait until you're healed enough. You can begin now, right now, with one defiant choice. I choose to be awake. It's messy, it's terrifying, it's beautiful, but it's yours. And once you taste it, you will never again settle for the dream. You will burn, you will blaze, you will finally, gloriously, live. Here's the compressed and sharpened final section 5 for you. There is a truth so devastating and so liberating that once you fully grasp it, your old life crumbles. Here it is. You were never fully asleep. Not completely. The real you awake, wild, limitless has always been here. Watching, waiting. You've glimpsed it before. In a sunset that shattered your thoughts. In a heartbreak that stripped you bare. In a moment of stillness when everything just was. That was never an accident. It was the truth breaking through. You didn't lose it. You were taught to doubt it. Conditioned to cover it up with personas, fears, distractions. You were convinced you needed to become something, when all along you simply needed to remember. And the forgetting was never your fault. You inherited it. A world that forgot how to be alive trained you to do the same. It taught you to fear your depth. To fear your own wildness, to trade mystery for certainty, to trade wonder for efficiency. But wonder never dies, it waits, and the most powerful realization, the one that unravels the dream, is this: you are already whole. You are not broken, you are not missing anything, you are not behind. Underneath the conditioning, underneath the wounds, there is a blazing fire that never went out. Your longing, your dissatisfaction, your deep aching sadness, they are not signs of failure. They are proof that your soul refused to give up. You ache because you are alive. You long because you are meant for more than numbness. And now you remember. You see the dream for what it is, an illusion, a beautiful, terrible illusion. And you see life for what it truly is, wild, fragile, sacred beyond understanding. From this place, you no longer need permission to exist. You no longer need external validation to feel worthy. You exist because existence itself is enough. Staying awake is the real work. It means resisting the sweet numbness of distraction. It means facing grief, terror, ecstasy, not numbing, not fleeing. It means choosing presence over and over and over. It means creating meaning from the raw materials of your own life. It means living and dying without regret. You don't have to escape the dream entirely. You don't have to become some flawless enlightened being. You simply have to see through the illusion, see yourself clearly, see the miracle or always living inside, and then live as if it's true, because it is. You were never broken, you were never small, you were never asleep, you were dreaming, and now You are awake. Welcome back. Welcome home. Now, live.